Hello. All right. So I'd love to give you a recap for, I believe this is my third week of working towards my goal. And this week I lost, it was 0.2 on the scale, 0.2 of a pound on average weight. So there's a post I'm doing separately from this where I'm going to actually show you all the data points, the graphs, and kind of explain things a little bit more in depth there. But there's a couple things I want to really high level talk about. So one, I've achieved about 15% of my goal completed, which is my goal is to get back down to the low end of my weight maintenance range, which is 150 for me. I started the month as an average of 159.3 pounds and 160.2 on the scale on May 1st. And as of today, I believe my average weight is 157.9. I believe that's what it was. And 157.6 on the scale. So a average loss of 1.4 for the month so far. Now there is something very interesting about the data and I want to talk about this. So what somebody might see and where something like weighing in once a week can work against you if you're losing a little bit of weight, or if you are somebody who maybe is a slower loser, like meaning your weight loss is at a slower rate, is if you were to only weigh in one day out of the week. For example, last Sunday and this Sunday, I weighed the exact same, yet Happy Scale shows that I've lost 0.2 of a pound. How is that possible, Heather? How can you weigh the same number 7 days apart, 157.6, 157.6, and still show 0.2 of a loss? Love this question. This is why averages are so powerful, because what happens over the course of 7 days for every female, males too, but mostly females, they have a rhythm of weight. So for example, every woman I work with, I've noticed they have a couple low days of weigh-ins per week, a couple high weigh-ins per week. Their weight tends to follow a cycle, just like it does on a monthly basis. Okay, so you have a weekly cycle and you have a monthly cycle with your weight. Now, this can be partly due to just your body, or it can be due to your lifestyle habits. So for example, if a lot of my clients have higher weigh-ins on Monday and Tuesday, that might be because it backs up to two higher calorie days, which for them might be Saturday and Sunday, right? So it's kind of like a forced or man-made cycle. For others, they might eat the same thing every single day and they still fall into this, right? We have so many low weigh-ins, we have so many high weigh-ins. When you compare week to week, and the reason you could lose weight with Happy Scale on your averages versus weighing the same on the scale within a 7-day stretch, like what I'm talking about here, is because the low weigh-ins are lower and the high weigh-ins are lower. So if you were to say jump back to, I don't know, say the week before, and let's just say in this case, I'm gonna keep all the numbers nice and clean just so it makes sense. Let's just say your high days, you were 159. And let's say you have 3 high days, 159, 159, 159. And then you're on your low days, you were 158, 158, right? So you've got these 3 higher days and these 2 lower days. And then what would happen the following week is your higher days might be dropping into that 158 range and your lower days might drop down into the 157 range. So what happens is on those days you are showing progress. But if I were to randomly step on the scale on a Monday and step on a scale the following Monday, I might not see that nuanced change, okay? You might completely miss that data set. But something like a Happy Scale or Libra for Android users, because everyone's been asking me that, what do you recommend for Android users? I don't see something quite as robust for Android, but I do know a lot of my coaching clients do like Libra. But you can chart this. I mean, there is the old manual paper pencil route where basically you just write your weight down every single week. And what you start to do is average it out, and then you can compare it. You can actually look at the data, right? Oh, here are my higher weigh-ins. Maybe you color code it. Here are my lower weigh-ins, maybe you color code it, and you start to see, are they traveling down across the board, right? What that indicates is that you are making progress. Weight is so impacted by so many things. You have to remember, this isn't like you step on the scale and it has meaning. It's a collective meaning over time. That's the big change in your thought process. You have to pivot. So this week was really good. I'm glad to see I'm making about 15% progress on my goal. This week, my personal challenge, I want to hit 2 low-end calorie days for me. So my range thus far has been 15 to 1800. I averaged 1715 on calories. I am going to shoot for 2 1500 days this week. The reason is, I know myself, my natural tendency over time is to get eating up higher and closer to my top end of the range, to the 1800. So by forcing myself periodically to take into lower calorie days like that, it at least keeps me mindful and more aware of my behaviors so I can modify those. So that is the goal for this week. That is how you can have 2 identical weights 7 days apart and still be making progress, because all those other weigh-ins in between actually do collectively count in the way of seeing your progress. No one weigh-in is a make or break. And 2, one thing I do want to talk about really quickly, people say, but Heather, couldn't you just eat less and lose weight quicker? Yes, you could, but there's a trade-off. Most people don't want to be miserable. And my experience having worked with people, it's better to take a modest deficit, enjoy some alcohol, enjoy some treats, enjoy some meals out, have more food, and stick with it longer than somebody who does the very extreme restrictive eating. And yes, you could do that, but you're giving up a lot. And what I tell people all the time is, if the thought process is, my God, this is so miserable, I cannot wait till this is over. Can I do anything to get this nightmare over quicker? I have to hurry up and get to my goal because I can't stand what I'm doing. If those are the thoughts that are rumbling around in your head, what you're doing is probably not sustainable. Better to take a smaller loss each month or week and actually get through the process and enjoy some things on the journey, versus punishing yourself for weeks and weeks and weeks to eat in a way that you can't sustain, just so that way when you get off, you can finally be quote unquote eating normally, which again, you haven't conditioned yourself to do. You're going from extreme restriction to probably extreme overeating. So just want to throw that nugget in there for those people who are questioning that thought process. You guys have a great day. I'll be back next week.